I want to talk for just a few minutes about a Sabbath and what that might look like. See, a lot of times we have this preconceived idea of what a Sabbath is supposed to be. And so when we don't meet that expectation, we're often left feeling frustrated, and it just makes things worse than it was before. I know the Pharisees, they put all these stipulations on the Sabbath. And it was, crazy. They couldn't walk but so far. They couldn't lift but so much. And everything that they did was a bit extreme. It would be a hard thing to do. So I want to talk about what your Sabbath looks like. And maybe it's time that we rethink a Sabbath in our own lives. See, I always thought that a Sabbath had to be on Sunday. It had to be, you go to church and nothing else, right? You just rest, kick your feet up, relax. And then I heard this weird thing that on the Sabbath, you're supposed to really just focus on God all day. And that's awesome and that's amazing. But I don't know if any of you ever feel like you're more exhausted and you work hard on Sunday than probably most of the other days of the week. Sunday is my busy day. I can't say that I really feel relaxed and rejuvenated. The Bible says that the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. So when we go back to the actual principle behind Sabbath, it was so we could be recharged. It was so we could reconnect with God. It was so we could have what we would need to carry on. And honestly, Sundays doesn't give me that. Yes, I get spiritually fed, but I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off most of the time, because I'm helping in the children's department. I'm teaching a Sunday school class. I'm getting my kids ready and, trying to get everybody out the door. And then we're coming home and we're rushing and we're hurrying up and eating lunch. And then some people in my church take naps, and they are blessed, but I don't get that. I'm getting the kids ready, making sure they don't get too messy, and then we're headed right back to the sanctuary. And I love church on Sunday. Don't get me wrong, but I don't feel physically recharged. So I've had to pray about it and ask God to show me what Sabbath means to me. I need to do what makes me feel recharged, what rejuvenates me. And I am a type 1 personality. I'm a 1 on the Enneagram, and I'm a type A. So sitting on my tush and just doing nothing does not regenerate me. It instead irritates me. It literally makes me feel like super stressed. I can't do it. So I've had to really work out what a Sabbath means in my life. What's going to recharge me? What's going to help me be a better mom, a better wife, a better minister? What's really going to help me serve God better and be the best me possible? Because that's what a Sabbath is about. Sabbath was made for the man, not man for the Sabbath. So if I'm trying to fit my Sabbath into what everybody else is doing, it's going to wear me out. It's not going to fulfill its purpose in my life. Instead, it's just going to be another thing on my to-do list. I've got to have a Sabbath, so I've got to rest. But in actuality, I leave feeling worse than I did before. So what does my Sabbath look like? Your Sabbath's not going to look like my Sabbath, and that's okay. All right? A Sabbath, to me, is a day of rest. A day where you rejuvenate, where you get that refreshing that you need. So my Sabbath, I take it on Mondays. Every Monday, kids know that's Mommy's Sabbath. On Mondays, I don't do school. I don't do any of my college work on Mondays. It's my Sabbath. I'm not going to wear my brain out doing any of that. Instead, I find an activity that makes me feel good, that recharges me. An activity that when I'm finished, I'm like, wow, I feel so great at this moment in my life. To me, it's painting my walls. My husband's probably tired of me changing the colors of our walls, but that is where I find peace. And I blame it on my Heavenly Father, to be honest, because He's super creative and He made this whole earth and He made everything in it and everything just looks amazing. So why wouldn't I want, to decorate my world? I don't do anything too taxing. I mean, I'm rolling a paintbrush and a roller brush across the wall. But just watching the colors change and seeing how much it changes what the room looks like, I love that. But I'm one of those weird people that also like mowing the lawn because I like the way it transforms the way the lawn looks. That's my regeneration. That's what fuels me. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I have purpose. It makes me feel recharged. It reloads my batteries, okay? And when I'm doing this, I'm bringing God into it, okay? I'm not just leaving Him on the shelf. While I'm painting the walls, I'm either listening to worship music, or I'm telling you, even on days I don't paint, because I don't paint every Monday. If I get up on a Monday and I'm like, I'm super tired, I don't even feel like painting, that's okay too. I do whatever fits my Sabbath that's going to make me feel good. That's going to make me recharge. That's going to help me be a better version of myself. So I haven't painted, probably. I painted my room, and I need to paint the kitchen. That's my next to-do list. Okay, that's on my thing. And I typically only change the paint in our house once a year, but I do rooms in spurts. So I usually find something else to fill in the blanks when I don't have anything to paint. I actually painted my dresser, just so you know. I like to paint things and see how it changes. But I'm not an artistic person, so I can't really paint a picture. But I do what God has blessed me with. Anyways, the last few Mondays, I haven't felt like painting. I just haven't felt like it. I was sick a little bit, and then my kids were sick, and I was just feeling really drained. So what did I do on those Mondays? Well, on those Mondays, I just took a breather. I read a book. I spent time with my kids, which is something I try to do every Sabbath. I spend time with them because I'm not doing school. So I fill in that spot with playing a game with them. But I don't know about you, that doesn't always recharge me because sometimes that's more work. But for the most part, I try my best to fit them into my Sabbath because they're a part of my ministry. They're part of my life. They're who God has given me to love on. And I try to do that. But I also listen to podcasts. Monday's my day to catch up on all my podcasts, all my Christian podcasts that I follow and I listen to. I will go in and I'll just make me a big, long playlist. And I'll add this one to my queue, add this one to my queue. And before you know it, I have a whole long list. And I'll listen to those. And I'll listen to worship music. And I'll listen to preaching. And I'll be focused on Jesus. And I'll be filling my tank. And then when Tuesday comes around, you know what? I don't feel drained. I don't feel washed out. I don't feel completely stressed. I'm entering into the rest of my week feeling like I've had a Sabbath. And my Sabbath's not going to look like your Sabbath. But I'm wanting to give you permission to ask God what Sabbath means to you. To ask Him what that means in your life. Because so often we feel so guilty about doing things that help us, doing things that recharges us. But that's exactly what God asked of us. That's exactly what He told us to do. He told us to take that time. It was made for you. The Sabbath was made for you. And you're honoring God when you do what you have to do to feel like a better version of yourself. Not worn out, not taxed out, not unable to give. You can't pour from an empty cup. So my Mondays are the days I get refilled, okay? I get refilled. I'm not learning my psychology stuff. I'm not reading any of my schoolwork. I don't do housework on a Monday. The kids get extra chores on that day. They know they have to pick up the slack because that's Mommy's Sabbath. That's the day I get recharged. And in my family, I have 7 kids, so we rotate. Everybody has a different day they do Sabbath. So on Tuesdays, the kids whose Sabbath it is, guess what? They don't get a chore. They now I do make them feed their animals, okay? Because I tell them even on my Sabbath, I still have to take care of you. So these are your babies, so you have to take care of them. Other than that, they don't do the laundry. They don't have to clean up their rooms. They don't have to do the dishes. They don't have to help cook supper. They just get that breathing moment to do what recharges them. And for them, it looks completely different than me. I've got one daughter who she loves to to color. So all day on her Sabbath, that's what she's wanting to do. She's coloring scriptural pictures. She's coloring things of the cross. I've got another daughter who likes to paint, and she's way more artistic than me, so she can actually paint pictures. And so she's painting scriptures and she's painting pictures and she's doing what recharges her. And then, I have a son and he really enjoys just being outside. So on his Sabbath, he's outside. He's in nature. He's enjoying what God's created. And that's his Sabbath. That's what he likes to do. To my youngest, on his Sabbath, man, he loves his Sabbath. Because on his Sabbath is wearing mommy out day, okay? That's the day where we have to build blocks all day. We have to, we've played Jenga a million times because he likes to build the tower up and knock it down. And he gets to go outside and he digs in the mud and he looks for dinosaur bones and all those things that a 7-year-old boy likes to do. And that's his Sabbath because he doesn't have any chores to do. He's getting to recharge. And I remind them when they're on their Sabbath, hey, look, this is your day. So just thank God for this moment. Thank God that you get this break. Thank God that you get this refreshing. It's not just about not having any chores today. It's about refueling. It's about reconnecting. It's about filling that cup back up so you have something of substance for the rest of the week. So I don't want you to feel guilty about taking a Sabbath. I don't want you to feel guilty about what that looks like for you. I don't want you to feel guilty for taking a moment. Your Sabbath is a time to connect with God, but your Sabbath is also a time to refill you. So like I said, I bring God into my Sabbath, but I don't make my Sabbath fit the typical view of what culture has defined it as. I don't listen to what the Pharisees have stamped on it. I don't make it fit anybody else's vision because I was created in God's image and I was created to be uniquely me. So I have to do what He created me to do in order to fulfill and be fulfilled in my life. So find what works for you. You know it too. We feel so guilty about doing a hobby. We feel so guilty about doing something that makes us feel good. But whatever that is, take a moment, bring Jesus alongside with you, and get that recharging that you need. Get that refilling that you need. Get what you need to be the best version of you possible. Sabbaths are not sinful. And they weren't just for the Bible days. And they don't have to look like what everybody else thinks they have to look. Your Sabbath was created for you. Remember that. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. That Sabbath was created for you. And if you keep trying to take a Sabbath or avoid the Sabbath and make it measure up to everybody else's standards, you're going to end up continually living your life drained, worn out, and frustrated. So take a moment, take a breather, talk to Jesus, figure this out, and do what helps you be the best you possible. I pray that you have an amazing week, and I pray that you find that day that works for you. It's not always going to be the same for everybody else. Find what works for you, and make that your Sabbath, and make that the day that you connect with Jesus and recharge.